At 3 a.m., while most of the world sleeps, billionaire tech mogul Cassius Rothwell is standing in his private greenhouse wearing a silk bathrobe and fuzzy alpaca slippers. He's holding a spray bottle. He's talking to a fiddle leaf fig named Gerald. He's telling Gerald about his feelings. This is Cassius Rothwell, a man worth $87 billion, and he's arguing with a plant about whether tap water is betraying his vision. What he doesn't know is that tonight, his entire world is about to collapse and rebuild itself in the most unexpected way possible. Before we get to the most shocking part of this story, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now and tell me what country you're watching from. Seriously, I want to see where this story is reaching. And while you're down there, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens next will completely change how you think about love and how it happens in ways you never see coming. Cassius Rothwell didn't become a billionaire by accident. He built an empire in artificial intelligence through ruthlessness, genius-level intellect, and an absolute refusal to accept failure. He's legendary in boardrooms, the kind of man who fires people via text message without blinking. Once, he publicly humiliated a CFO for using the wrong shade of blue in a PowerPoint presentation. The business world fears him. The media calls him visionary. His competitors call him a monster. But none of that compares to his real obsession: his midnight garden. For the past 12 years, Cassius hasn't slept a single night. Not by choice, his brain simply refuses. Doctors call it severe non-24-hour sleep-wake disorder. Cassius calls it a feature, not a bug. Most people would spiral. Most people would lose their minds. Cassius? He transformed the entire top floor of his Manhattan penthouse into a botanical kingdom spanning 3,000 square feet. Every plant in this garden has a name, a birthday, a personality profile, and a dedicated journal entry written daily. He's got 347 plants. That's 347 journal entries. Every single night. It's obsession. It's madness. It's the only thing keeping him sane. Gerald the fiddle leaf fig is the patriarch of this green kingdom. Gerald betrayed Cassius by developing brown spots, which Cassius interpreted as judgment. Cassius has spent 3 weeks trying to rehabilitate Gerald's self-esteem through daily conversations. You're beautiful, Gerald. Your asymmetrical growth doesn't define you. He whispers to the plant at 4 a.m., completely serious. Then there's Beatrice, a monstera that Cassius has become convinced is plotting against him. Her leaves grow asymmetrically, left side longer than the right, which he finds both insulting and intriguing. She reminds him of someone, though he hasn't admitted it to himself yet. There's Octavian, a bird of paradise that he talks to about his childhood trauma and his mother who left him at a country club when he was 7 years old. He was 7. She never came back. The watering system isn't just complex. It's genius-level complex. Color-coded tubes snake across shelves like an irrigation masterpiece. pH-balanced solutions for different plant families. A humidity control system that costs more than most people's houses. He's created a spreadsheet that would make an aerospace engineer weep. Rows, columns, cross-referencing, moon phases factored in. It's not obsession anymore, it's art. And the music. God, the music. Same playlist. Same order. Every single night. Debussy's Clair de Lune, followed by Eric Satie's Gymnopédie No. 1, followed by Norah Jones's Don't Know Why. And then it loops. If the order changes even slightly, Cassius experiences what can only be described as a controlled panic attack. Once, his assistant accidentally played track 4 before track 3. Cassius fired her via email while she was still in the building. The email was 6 paragraphs long and included a detailed explanation of why deviation from the system was a betrayal of trust and order. He wears the same bathrobe every night. Not because he can't afford new ones, he can afford whatever he wants. But because this one is soft from years of wear, and it smells like home, or what passes for home in his carefully controlled world. The alpaca slippers were a joke gift from a business associate who thought they were mocking him. Cassius embraced them. They're the closest he's come to humor in a decade. Ravenna is Cassius's new hire, a 26-year-old from rural Vermont who was brought on as his executive assistant / life manager / person who apparently needs to control everything he does. She's perpetually unimpressed with billionaire bullshit. She wears thrift store blazers that somehow look expensive on her. She mismatches her socks on purpose. She has a tendency to laugh at the most inappropriate moments, which makes people uncomfortable and makes Cassius want to hear that sound again immediately. She's devastatingly attractive, but not in a conventional way. Dark eyes that seem to see right through him. A mouth that's either smirking or saying something brutally honest. A body she carries like she owns every room she walks into. She moves through the world like she knows something everyone else doesn't. She was hired because her previous boss, a hedge fund manager worth $2 billion, called Cassius personally and said, "You need someone who doesn't care if you're a billionaire." She literally asked me if money could buy happiness and then answered her own question with probably not, but it could buy really good cheese. Hire her. She's chaos and you need chaos. You need someone to tell you when you're being ridiculous. On her first week, she reorganized his entire filing system alphabetically instead of by importance. She color-coded his calendar by mood instead of by meeting type. She asked him, directly, why he wasn't sleeping, and when he gave her the clinical explanation, she said, "That sounds like you need therapy, not a garden. Have you considered actually talking to a human instead of plants?" Cassius nearly fired her. Twice. But something stopped him. Maybe it was that she challenged him without fear. Maybe it was that she noticed when he skipped meals and left a protein bar on his desk with a sticky note that said, "Billionaires need fuel too. Idiot." Maybe it was that she once found him at 4 a.m., sitting in the dark in his office, and instead of asking questions, she just sat next to him in silence for 2 hours. Or maybe it was that he became dangerously obsessed with the way she bit her lower lip when she was concentrating on code, or the way her dark eyes lit up when she caught him in a mistake. 3 months into her employment, Ravenna stays late. She's fixing an error in the board presentation. Something about quarterly projections that she caught and he missed, which infuriated and impressed him simultaneously. How had he not seen it? How had his brilliant mind skipped over that obvious flaw? The building empties. Security has gone home. It's 2:47 a.m., and she's hungry, tired, and decides to explore. She's been wondering about the private elevator, the restricted floor, the access card that Cassius gave her, just in case. She's curious by nature. She takes the private elevator to the top floor and steps into another world. The greenhouse is bathed in soft grow lights, greens and blues that make everything look like it exists in a dream. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls reveal a glittering Manhattan skyline beyond. Hundreds of plants in various states of growth. Potted plants on tiered shelves. Hanging vines suspended from the ceiling like botanical chandeliers. Hydroponic systems humming quietly. The space is immaculate but alive, misty from the humidity control system. And there's Cassius, standing in that ridiculous silk bathrobe and alpaca slippers, having what appears to be an argument with a large fiddle leaf fig. "No, Gerald. No. We discussed this. Asymmetrical growth is a sign of weakness, and I won't tolerate it in my greenhouse. I won't tolerate it in you. You're better than this. You're stronger than your brown spots. Your pigmentation does not define your worth." He's gesturing expressively. He's completely, utterly serious. He's having a genuine emotional conversation with a plant. He stops. He sees Ravenna standing in the doorway. For a moment, his entire body goes rigid. His face shifts through about 12 different emotions. Shock, embarrassment, vulnerability, the desperate calculation of whether he can convince her she didn't see that. But he can't. She saw. She's looking at him like he's the most fascinating, broken thing she's ever encountered. There's raw vulnerability in his eyes. No armor. No billionaire persona. Just a man caught being completely, utterly himself in his most private moment. She doesn't laugh, though she wants to. She doesn't judge, though she's processing. She asks, simply, "What's Gerald done?" And that question, that simple, kind, non-judgmental question, is the moment everything changes for Cassius Rothwell. For the next 3 hours, they sit among the plants in the greenhouse. Him on a wooden bench he's had custom-made, her on a stack of cushions. The only sound is the soft hum of the hydroponic system and Debussy playing on repeat. He tells her everything. Not just about the garden or the plants or the insomnia. He tells her about his mother. About being abandoned at 7 years old. About the country club. About waiting for hours in the lobby, convinced she'd come back, before the manager finally called social services. He tells her about building an empire to prove he was worth something. To prove that if he became successful enough, valuable enough, important enough, maybe someone would stay. But nobody ever did. Girlfriends left. Business partners betrayed him. His own mother sent birthday cards from different addresses every year. Never the same return address twice. He tells her about how the plants never leave. They never betray him. They never say he's not enough. They're consistent. They're predictable. They're safe. He talks about how every rejection in his life is cataloged in his mind, tied to specific plants. Beatrice, the monstera, represents the first girlfriend who left him for someone more normal. They dated for 3 years, and she said being with him was like dating a robot programmed by anxiety. She left him for a guy who worked in craft beer and had a beard. Cassius has never forgiven her. So he named a plant after her and watches it grow asymmetrically with quiet rage and fascination. Octavian, the bird of paradise, is his mother, beautiful but unreachable. He tends to it obsessively, hoping that if he can keep Octavian alive and thriving, maybe it's proof that he would have been a good enough reason to stay. And Ravenna listens. She doesn't try to fix it. She doesn't minimize it. She doesn't say, that's in the past, or you're rich now, you should be over it. She just listens. She lets him be broken in front of her. Then she tells him her story. How she grew up poor in Vermont. How her mother worked 2 jobs and still couldn't cover medical bills. How she died when Ravenna was 19, drowning in debt that Ravenna inherited like a curse. How she took this job because she needed the money desperately, but stayed because something about his brokenness felt familiar. Because she recognizes what it's like to build walls so high that nobody can see you dying inside. She tells him about nights she spent eating ramen for dinner, calculating if she had enough left over to make a payment toward the hospital bills. About the shame of having debt. About the shame of loving someone, her mother, and being unable to save them. By 5:30 a.m., they're sitting next to Gerald the figure. Cassius has made her hot chocolate, with a very specific temperature requirement, 72 degrees Celsius. Not a degree more or less, because precision is love in his language. She's made him laugh, actually laugh, for the first time in years. A real laugh. Not the polite laugh he uses in board meetings or at charity galas. A genuine, body-shaking laugh that makes him feel alive. You're beautiful when you laugh, she says, and it catches them both off guard. The honesty, the vulnerability, the shift in the air between them, from confessional to something else entirely. He reaches over and tucks a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. His fingers linger against her skin, tracing her jawline. You're beautiful all the time, he says quietly. Even when you're calling me insane for having 347 plant journals. Maybe especially then. She turns to face him fully. Her dark eyes search his face. The greenhouse lights catch the gold in her irises. This is a bad idea, she whispers. You're my boss. I just started 3 months ago. This could destroy everything. My job, your career, all of it. I know. We could get fired. I could lose my job. You could. I don't care. He closes the space between them. The kiss is desperate, months of tension finally breaking like a dam. His hand comes up to cup her face, and she's pressing into him, her fingers digging into his bathrobe, pulling him closer. It's urgent and messy and completely uncontrolled. Nothing like the calculated, precise version of Cassius that exists in boardrooms. It's raw. It's real. It's everything he's been missing. When they pull apart, both breathing hard, she rests her forehead against his. Their noses touch. That was really stupid, she says, but she's smiling. Catastrophically stupid. He agrees, pulling her back toward him. This time, the kiss is slower, deeper, more intentional. His hands slide down her sides, finding the bare skin where her shirt has ridden up. She gasps against his mouth, and he wants to memorize that sound, that exact moment where control completely abandons him. He's never felt anything like this, the loss of control, the absolute need for her, the way she undoes him completely. "Stay," he whispers against her lips. "Not just tonight. With me. In my life. In this greenhouse. Stay." For 2 months, they're inseparable. Nights in the greenhouse become their sanctuary. He shows her his journals. 347 of them dating back 12 years. Each one a window into his fractured mind. She reads about his business failures written with painful honesty. About relationship disasters analyzed obsessively. About his fear that he's fundamentally unlovable and always will be. She reads about him talking to plants because talking to humans requires reciprocation. Plants just listen. Plants don't leave. But the nights are a different story entirely. The greenhouse transforms after midnight. It becomes their playground, their sanctuary, their place where the real world can't touch them. She'll find him waiting for her sometimes with wine, sometimes with the taste of him already on her lips from earlier in the evening when he'd cornered her in the hallway. He's obsessive and possessive, wants to know everything. Where she's been, who she's spoken to, if anyone has looked at her the way he does. She finds it intoxicating, this kind of singular attention from a man who has spent his entire life convinced he's incapable of focus. One night, she arrives to find him waiting among the plants at 1 a.m., and he's naked except for a single grow light illuminating his chest. His body is lean, strong from years of expensive gym memberships. His eyes are dark with want. "You're insane," she laughs. But she's already removing her clothes, piece by piece, letting them fall to the floor. Her blazer, her shirt, her pants, until she's standing in front of him in nothing but her underwear and the knowledge that she owns him completely. "Probably," he agrees, pulling her toward him. "But you've made me worse." They make love among Gerald and Beatrice and Octavian, and somehow it feels sacred. Sacred and profane all at once. The plants bear witness to everything. The way she cries out his name, the way his control shatters the moment she touches him, the way her body responds to his, the way they fit together like they were designed for each other. He's deliberate with her, worships her with his hands, his mouth, the way he looks at her like she's the most valuable thing he's ever owned. She's wild with him, uninhibited, demanding, meeting him with an intensity that matches his own. They exhaust each other and come back for more. Afterward, they lie on the cool stone floor. He's installed heated mats now, just for this. Her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare back. She can feel his heartbeat slowly returning to normal. She can feel him breathing her in. "I love you," he says. It's the first time he's said it, and he says it like a confession, like an apology, like a warning. She doesn't say it back immediately. Instead, she sits up and looks at him, really looks at him. His dark hair disheveled. His eyes soft with vulnerability. His body still slightly flushed from exertion. "You love the idea of me," she says. "You love that I fit into your broken narrative. You love that I'm damaged too, so we can damage each other together. But what happens when I'm not broken anymore? What happens when I heal?" He reaches up and pulls her back down to him, burying his face in her hair. "Then I'll love the healed version of you just as fiercely. I'll love you in all your forms. Ravenna, that's not negotiable. You don't get to leave me because you got better. That's cowardice, and we're not cowards." She meets her friends for drinks now. She has a separate life, an apartment she still pays for, independence. But she comes home to him. The greenhouse has become home. She meets his world during the day, board meetings, investor calls, charity galas. During these moments, they're careful, professional, almost cold. They don't acknowledge each other unless necessary. But the tension is unbearable. Across the conference table, he'll catch her eye and she'll remember what his hands feel like on her body. She'll see him shake someone's hand and imagine those same hands inside her. They torture each other with distance. One particularly brutal day, at a black-tie charity event in a Manhattan ballroom, she excuses herself to the bathroom and finds him waiting in the private corridor instead. He's pulled her into an alcove hidden from the main ballroom. This is too public, she whispers as he backs her against the marble wall, his mouth on her neck. I don't care, he says, and he's kissing her neck, her jawline, her mouth. His hands are already working at the zip of her dress. I don't care if someone walks by. I don't care if they see. I need you to know that you're mine. That all of this. He gestures broadly at the ballroom, the world beyond. None of it matters. You matter. Only you. She pulls him into an empty coat closet instead, and they're desperate and quick and completely satisfied. His expensive suit jacket ends up on the floor. Her designer dress is bunched around her waist. They're gasping and urgent and completely consumed with each other. You're going to ruin me? She says afterward, straightening her dress, fixing her makeup with trembling hands. I know, he says, and you're going to save me. We're going to destroy each other in the most beautiful way possible. She changes things in his life, though neither of them realizes it at first. She suggests gently that maybe not all plants need daily journal entries. Maybe he could streamline the watering system. Maybe, just maybe, he could try sleeping again. She's not trying to fix him. She's trying to help him. He considers it. For the first time in 12 years, he considers it. For the first time, the idea of sleeping doesn't feel like failure. It feels like possibility. Because maybe, with her, he could sleep. Maybe he could let his guard down that completely. One night, she suggests they add a new plant to the collection. Something different. A Venus flytrap. Absolutely not, Cassius says, horrified. They're naked in bed, her legs tangled with his, the greenhouse visible through the glass walls of his bedroom. The grow lights cast them in ethereal green and blue. Why not? It's a plant. It's a murderer. It eats insects. It's barbaric. I won't have violence in my garden. It's eating bugs, not conducting hostile takeovers. Are you seriously lecturing me about plant morality while you're naked in my bed? She straddles him, a slow smile crossing her face. I'm seriously suggesting you're projecting your corporate ruthlessness onto a carnivorous plant that has no capacity for malice. Also, I'm about to lecture you about a lot of things while I'm naked in your bed, and you're going to enjoy every second of it. He stares at her. Her dark hair falls around her shoulders. She's straddling him with absolute confidence. She's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Then he laughs, actually laughs, for 3 minutes straight, and buys 3 Venus flytraps the next day. But then something shifts. She notices small things at first. He's distant during the day, checking his phone constantly, taking calls outside. His night routine becomes less about connecting with her and more about being alone in the greenhouse. He's still attentive in bed. If anything, more desperate for her, more possessive. But there's a sadness underneath it. Finality. Like he's memorizing her for the last time. One morning, she finds him asleep. Actually asleep. For the first time in 12 years, he's sleeping. When she asks about it gently, he's evasive. Says it's just one night. Probably nothing. Probably just exhaustion from the new contracts. But it happens again. And again. He's sleeping. Genuinely, deeply sleeping. She finds him in bed at 6 a.m. when she arrives. Something that has never happened before. His face is peaceful in sleep. He looks like a different person. A healed person. She should be happy about this. This is what she encouraged him to do. This is healthy. This is progress. This is the whole point. But she's not happy. Because she realizes, with crushing clarity, that she was only special to him because she was the only one who could reach him during his insomnia hours. The greenhouse at 3 a.m. The vulnerability. The desperate need for her to witness his pain and validate his existence. Now that he's sleeping, he doesn't need her midnight visits. He doesn't need the greenhouse conversations. He doesn't need her. She's been a symptom and he's just cured himself of the disease. She does something she'll regret for the rest of her life. She reads his journals. Not all 347, she's not a monster, but the recent ones. The ones from the past 2 months. What she finds destroys her. Journal entry. Dated 2 weeks ago. Met with Dr. Sharma today. The new medication is working. I'm sleeping again. Actual REM sleep. Actual dreams. I haven't had those in 12 years. She says the insomnia was likely psychosomatic, tied to my anxiety about abandonment. With the right treatment, it could resolve completely. With her help. With professional help. But I haven't told Ravenna about the medication. I haven't told her I'm seeing a therapist. I haven't told her that the reason I don't need to talk to plants anymore is because I'm finally, after all these years, learning to talk to humans. Real humans. She's the bridge, but she's not the destination. She thinks she's saving me. She thinks she's the only one who understands. But the truth is, I understand myself now. And it's terrifying. Because what if she realizes I was broken? And broken isn't romantic. What if she realizes I'm just a man with money and unresolved childhood trauma? And that's not enough. What if she outgrows me? And in the next entry, I have to let her go. But I can't be cruel about it. She deserves better than a man who only functioned because she was there. She deserves someone who's whole. And I'm finally learning to be whole. But how do I tell her that loving her is what's allowing me to heal, while also knowing that me healing might mean I outgrow her? How do I break her heart gently when she loves me so completely? And then, more recently, Dr. Sharma says I'm using her as a crutch, that my feelings for her are real, but they're tangled up with my need for validation. She's right. I know she's right. The ethical thing to do is to release her. The kind thing is to let her find someone who's whole. The loving thing is to set her free, even though it will destroy me. She's crying when he finds her in the greenhouse, surrounded by journals. She's sitting on the floor, surrounded by leather-bound evidence of his deception. Her hands are shaking. "You're leaving me," she says. Not a question. A statement of fact. He goes pale. His entire face goes white. "I can explain." "You don't need to. I read it. I read how I was your therapeutic placeholder. I read how you're getting better and apparently that means getting away from me. I read how you're planning to break my heart gently like I'm too fragile to handle the truth. That's not. It's exactly what it is. I was your emergency exit. Your 3 a.m. codependence buddy. And now that you're fixed, I'm obsolete. I'm the training wheels you don't need anymore." She's standing now, backing away from him. "I gave you everything. I read your journals. I sat with you while you cried about your mother. I made love to you in a greenhouse surrounded by plants. I believed that I was enough for you. And you've been planning how to leave me this whole time. You're not obsolete. You're... what? The woman you were going to break up with gently? The woman you pitied because she actually fell in love with you? God, I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot." She's grabbing her things. Her shoes. Her jacket. Her dignity, what's left of it. Cassius does something he's never done. He doesn't run. He doesn't hide. He sits down and he tells her the truth. The real truth. "I was going to let you go," he says quietly. "Not because you were a placeholder, but because I was terrified that once I got healthy, once I became whole, you'd realize you only loved the broken version of me. That you were attracted to my chaos and my dysfunction because it matched yours. That loving me was a way of rescuing yourself through rescuing me." She starts to protest, but he continues, his voice steady but devastated. "And then I realized something, reading my own journal entries. I was terrified of abandonment, so I was planning to abandon you first. I was doing to you exactly what everyone has done to me. I was repeating the pattern, and I couldn't live with that. So 3 weeks ago, I stopped taking the medication." Silence. "What?" she whispers. 3 weeks ago, I stopped taking the medication. I called Dr. Sharma and told her I needed to do something first, something important. I needed to prove to myself that I could be healthy and still love you, that I could be whole and not lose you. That being healed didn't mean losing the most important thing I found. He stands up and moves toward her, backing her against the counter in the greenhouse. His hands find her waist. "I haven't slept in 3 weeks. I'm exhausted. I'm terrified. I'm losing my mind. And I'm completely, overwhelmingly in love with you. Not because you saved me, but because you saw me at my most broken and loved me anyway. And I want to spend the rest of my life learning to do that for you." He kisses her then. It's raw and desperate and apologetic all at once. His hands cup her face. Her fingers dig into his shirt. "I'm sorry," he whispers against her lips. "I'm sorry for every moment I made you feel like you weren't enough. You are everything. You are the only thing that's ever mattered." She's crying, but she's pulling him closer, her mouth finding his again. The kiss deepens, and suddenly they're everywhere. His hands in her hair, her fingers ripping at his shirt. He lifts her onto the counter, and she wraps her legs around him. "Don't you ever," she says between kisses, "ever try to leave me again. Do you understand? Ever." "I won't," he promises. "Never. I choose you. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing you every single day for the rest of my life." And he takes her right there, among the plants, with a desperation that speaks to his fear of losing her. His absolute need for her to know that she's not disposable. She's not temporary. She's not a symptom or a crutch or a placeholder. She's the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. He's inside her and telling her that he loves her. She's breathless and telling him that she believes him. Gerald and Beatrice and Octavian bear witness to their reconciliation. The plants have seen it all now. The loneliness, the connection, the heartbreak, the redemption. Afterward, they collapse into each other, tangled on the counter, his silk bathrobe beneath them, her dress on the floor. They're both crying, both laughing, both completely destroyed and completely healed. "You're insane," she says, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slowly return to normal. "Clinically diagnosed insane," he confirms. "But I'm your insane person. You stopped taking medication for me. You're deliberately making yourself sick for me. That's not romantic, that's love," he says simply. "That's choosing to be broken with you instead of whole without you. That's me finally understanding that healing isn't about becoming independent from you. Healing is about becoming strong enough to choose you anyway." She sits up and looks at him. His dark eyes are red from crying. His hair is completely disheveled. He looks younger like this, more vulnerable, more real. "I love you," she says, and this time she means it completely. Not the tentative love of someone afraid of abandonment, but the fierce love of someone who chooses to stay. "I know," he says. "You've loved me since you found me arguing with Gerald at 3 a.m. You just finally admitted it." The greenhouse has changed. There are now 360 plants. New ones he's added with her. Plants they've chosen together. The new ones include our future, second chances, and therapy was apparently unnecessary. Cassius is back to not sleeping, but not because of his disorder. He's chosen this. He's back to not sleeping because he's chosen her over sleep, chosen to be awake during the hours when he can be with her in the greenhouse, chosen to be broken if that's the price of keeping her. But he's also in actual therapy now, which he attends during the day, therapy with Dr. Sharma, the psychiatrist who offered him medication. She's helped him understand the difference between healing and running, between being whole and being complete. He's whole now, but he's choosing to be incomplete without her. That's the difference. That's love. He's still eccentric, still names plants, still has his specific routines and his specific playlists and his color-coded watering systems. But he's learned to let Ravenna into them without needing her to complete them. She doesn't save him anymore. She complements him. She chooses him. And he chooses her. And Ravenna has learned that loving someone broken doesn't mean you have to be broken yourself. She's learned to accept his quirks without trying to fix them. She's learned that sometimes the most romantic thing isn't grand gestures. It's someone choosing you every single day, in the small moments and in the big moments. In the moments when he has her pinned against the glass walls of the greenhouse at 4 a.m., reminding her in every possible way that she's his. In the moments when he reads her his journal entries and she listens without judgment. In the moments when they're both crying and laughing and completely undone by love. One night, she wakes up, she stays over now, though she keeps her own apartment for independence and sanity, to find him in the greenhouse at 3 a.m. as always. But this time, he's not alone with the plants. He's on the phone with his mother. The conversation is tense, painful, but real. His mother says, "I'm proud of you, Cassius." And for the first time in his life, he believes it. He doesn't minimize it or question it. He just accepts it as truth. His mother is proud. The woman who abandoned him is proud of the man he's become. He looks over at Ravenna, standing in the doorway wearing one of his shirts. Nothing else. She's silhouetted against the grow lights, and even after 6 months, the sight of her steals his breath. When he hangs up the phone, he pulls her into the garden and makes love to her with a tenderness that contrasts beautifully with the desperation they share in other moments. There's a quality to it now, a sureness. No more fear of abandonment coloring every touch. Just pure love. Just certainty. You should be happy, she whispers when they're lying entangled on the soft moss he's cultivated for exactly this purpose. I am, he says. But I'm also terrified. What if I'm not enough? What if? She puts her finger on his lips. What if you are? What if you're exactly enough? What if the only person who ever convinced you that you weren't was someone too broken to recognize brilliance when they saw it? He pulls her close, and she can feel him against her, already wanting her again. Because that's what they are now, insatiable. Consuming. Healing each other one night at a time. I have something for you, he says. And he reaches for his silk bathrobe draped over the nearby chair. He pulls out a small velvet box from the pocket. She goes very still. Is this? It is. I was going to wait. Do something grand. Fly you somewhere romantic. Buy out a restaurant. But I realized that you don't want grand. You want honest. You want real. So I'm being honest. I love you. I want to spend forever in this greenhouse with you. Naming plants, making love to you against every available surface, listening to Debussy on repeat, and slowly driving you insane with my neuroses. Will you marry me? She's crying and laughing all at once, and she's saying yes, 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 and pulling him on top of her. Only you would propose in a greenhouse surrounded by plants, she says, breathless as he's kissing her neck, her shoulders everywhere. Only you would say yes to a proposal from a man who argues with ferns. He counters, his voice rough with emotion and desire. And in the greenhouse, surrounded by 360 plants that have heard more human vulnerability than most people in their lives, two broken people find something whole. They find each other. They find home. The wedding is small, intimate, no massive guest list, just people who matter. Her friends from Vermont who knew her when she was struggling. His business associates who respect him enough to come to a ceremony in a greenhouse. Dr. Sharma who helped him heal. Gerald, Beatrice, and Octavian, positioned of honor among the flowers. They write their own vows. Cassius cries when he's writing them. Ravenna laughs when she reads his. In the vows, he promises to sleep with her on the nights she needs him to keep plants alive as proof that he's capable of caring for something that depends on him. To love her not because she saves him, but because she chooses to stay even when he's impossible. In her vows, she promises to never leave, no matter how broken he becomes. To read his journals without judgment. To sit with him at 3 a.m. and listen to him talk to plants if that's what he needs. To love the eccentric, neurotic, brilliant man he is. They make love in the greenhouse that night with all the plants bearing witness. They make love in his penthouse overlooking Manhattan. They make love everywhere, unable to get enough of each other. The desperation never fades. It evolves into something deeper, something more certain. Some billionaires build empires. Some build walls. Cassius Rothwell built a garden. And in that garden, he found something more valuable than all the money in the world. He found Ravenna Cortez. He found someone who loved him not despite his eccentricity, but because of it. He found someone who would choose him every single day, in every single moment. He found his person. And that's the greatest luxury of all. Because love isn't about fixing someone. Love isn't about saving them. Love is about seeing someone at their most broken, most honest, most raw, and choosing to stay. Love is about building a garden together, not to hide from the world, but to have a sanctuary where two broken people can become whole. Cassius Rothwell stopped sleeping 12 years ago. But with Ravenna, he finally learned to rest. Not the sleep he fought for, but the deeper rest that comes from being seen, being known, being loved exactly as he is. And Ravenna Cortez, who spent her life afraid of abandonment, learned that some people stay. Some people choose you. Some people don't just love you despite your broken parts. They love you because of them. Because your broken parts make you real. In a greenhouse on the 87th floor of a Manhattan penthouse, surrounded by 360 plants and the soft hum of hydroponic systems, two people found home. They found each other. They found a love that was spicy and tender, desperate and sure, broken and whole all at once. And they lived happily ever after. Not because they became perfect, but because they became perfectly honest with each other.